Coming up next on 12 News, meteorologist Lauren Rainson tracking a major warm-up for us this week. Plus, new calls to change immunity laws for state representatives. And an Arizona couple delivers their baby. Sunday, February 16th, right now on 12 News.
I'm Gabriella Becerra in the newsroom. A state senator was caught going 24 miles an hour over the speed limit. We'll explain why he wasn't ticketed.
I'm meteorologist Lauren Rainson. The main weather impact for the next several days, rising temperatures all across state 48.
I'm Trisha Hendricks. Tonight, we're hearing from a Maricopa mom who delivered her own baby in her car on the way to the hospital, only to learn she was up against some major health issues. In a one-on-one interview with 12 News, she shares what happened and how she's doing now.
And a bond over a love of baseball in Arizona spring training leads to something much bigger.
It's amazing. I mean, she saved my life, literally. I wouldn't be here, honestly, if it wasn't for the kidney.
12 News starts now. Thank you for joining us tonight on 12 News. I'm Troy Hayden. 3 Arizona lawmakers have tried to avoid speeding tickets in the last year, and it's all thanks to a clause in our state constitution. That clause grants legislative immunity to lawmakers during the session. 12 News journalist Gabriela Becerra explains how it works and recent pushback now on this. What's going on, Gabby?
Well, Troy, the Arizona Constitution protects all lawmakers from arrest during the legislative session, except in cases of treason, felony, and breach of peace. So essentially, it protects state representatives and senators from minor offenses while in office. We most recently saw legislative immunity in action in January. Both senators, Jake Hoffman and Mark Fincham, were pulled over for speeding in separate instances. Fincham was initially ticketed by Prescott police, but that ticket was later cleared. Hoffman was immediately recognized by a trooper as a senator in his case and not ticketed at all. Now, Arizona is not the only state to have legislative immunity. Rachel Moss, a criminal defense attorney for Attorneys for Freedom, tells me it was created in part to keep distractions away from lawmakers while in office, but she adds there's been a lot of pushback against this part of the Constitution.
It's criminal speeding. That's something you could be facing jail time for. You could be facing jail time, a fine. You could be facing probation. And that same action that could potentially land me in jail is not landing a member of our legislature in jail. These are the people that are supposed to really be upholding Arizona values and really being good representatives of the law as well. And so for them to not be held accountable in the same way as us is disappointing for many people.
There's also a resolution currently making its way through the House of Representatives that would eliminate traffic violations from the immunity. House Concurrent Resolution 2053 is sponsored by State Representative Kwong Win, and in a statement, Win says, quote, "No one should be above the rules of the road. Lawmakers should follow the same laws they create and enforce, and we are lawmakers, not lawbreakers." Now, if this resolution passes through the House, it will be placed on the ballot as a proposition in the next general election, giving voters a final say. Troy?
Yeah, and it was put in there, wasn't it, Gabby? Because they didn't want any shenanigans. Somebody basically coming in and, doing something that would allow them not to vote, right? And arrest them for something, correct?
Exactly. They just want to give these state lawmakers the opportunity to focus solely on the job that taxpayers pay them to do.
All right, Gabby, thank you very much. This morning, a big police presence on State Route 51 near Greenway Road. There was a chase that blocked traffic there for miles. Phoenix PD telling us officers had to deploy that device known as the grappler to stop the driver. And the grappler basically does grab the car that they're chasing and disables it. The driver was detained by police. They're saying the investigation is ongoing. Developing tonight, police are looking for a suspect involved in a severe beating on Friday afternoon, and it left one man dead right in central Phoenix. Happened about 4 p.m. at an apartment complex near 11th Avenue in Buckeye. The victim identified as 35-year-old Darius Smith. Police say he died there at the scene, and detectives are asking anybody who has any information about this incident to call Silent Witness. You may be eligible for a reward. So we got the rain late last week, but a really nice weekend, and now we are going to see a warm-up coming up this week. Meteorologist Lauren Rainson has our weather impact forecast.
Despite more cloud cover to close the weekend, temperatures continue to warm up out there. And after 11 o'clock tonight, the valley will drop out of the 60s into the upper 50s. Mid-50s by 5 in the morning. When you're out the door Monday, a lot of us valley-wide in the 40s and 50s to start. So late overnight will look like this. More 40s and 50s valley-wide. Carbon copy conditions to the last several mornings. In the higher elevations, we're going to start out Monday in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. A wake-up temperature of 29 in Flagstaff to 34 in Winslow. Making a run for the upper 70s, some lower desert spots nearing that 80-degree mark, 50s and 60s in those higher elevations, as we will mix with sun and cloud cover. Dry, calm weather all across the state, and temperatures continue to rise in the meantime. There are going to be some hiccups to that forecast, mostly for those higher desert spots. A jam-packed forecast you don't want to miss within the next 15 minutes.
All right, Lauren, we'll see you then. Tonight, we are hearing from a mom in Maricopa who delivered her own baby in her car on the way to the hospital. Her husband was in the driver's seat and a dispatcher was on the phone. 12 News journalist Tricia Hendricks has more on what happened.
This is Mr. Kanan Thomas Vuya.
A bundle of joy.
He is a month and a couple days.
Cozy in the arms of his mama, Shelby Vuya.
Just wow.
It's been an eventful month.
I was 36 weeks and 4 days.
Shelby had just gone to her OB for an ultrasound.
He was breached, so the next day my doctor wanted me to come in so that we can have a planned birth.
She had been dealing with the flu for a week, but baby was doing good, still 3 weeks out from his due date. But when she got home, she started getting contractions.
I was like, you know, this is not going to happen to us tonight. And then God had other plans. Next thing you know, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Let's go to the hospital.
Big sister Ellie stayed home with her uncle, and they headed out.
Within 10 minutes in the car, whoosh, all the water came out right there in the front seat of the vehicle.
Shelby started giving birth. Her husband Thomas was still 15 minutes from the hospital.
Panic and call 911, and they tell me to pull over, and the dispatcher said that if you start tugging on him, you might break his spine, so she has to push.
And another push, boom, baby was out.
Caden was born on January 10th at 12:10 a.m. on Highway 347 at mile marker 186. But they were concerned.
Still not breathing. Told us how to perform CPR. We put him up to my wife's mouth, and as soon as she touches his mouth, he starts crying.
That's when he took his first
That's
breath.
when he took his first breath, yes. And then she just melted and started crying and just smiling, just super thankful. Pretty crazy.
And here he is. And here he is.
I gotta say that God was probably there because I don't know why, but I've had a Bible in my car in the passenger seat for the last 5 years probably, and I've almost taken it out, and I was like, no, it's here for a reason, and I think that Caden was the reason.
Teamwork. Teamwork, yes.
The ambulance took mom and baby while dad followed on their way to the hospital, where Caden went into the NICU.
Just because of fast breathing, I mean, he came on the side of the road in a car, 30-degree weather, so he needed some extra TLC.
And so did Shelby. In fact, her body was on overload. She was dealing with pneumonia and the flu as the medical staff worked to get her cleaned up.
My heart stopped on the table. They had to do CPR on me and bring me back to life.
Doctors discovered blood clots in her arm, but thankfully they were able to get them out.
I was in the ICU for 9 days, and then finally they let me go home.
After all that, Caden finally joined her in going home February 1st, his original due date.
Yep, he is home and healthy.
Caden is now 8 pounds, 10 ounces and doing great.
He's just such a miracle.
After a dramatic entrance into the world,
I'm just rocking and rolling with him.
the Vuya family is feeling blessed.
And I'm so glad we're all here.
God is very good.
Trisha Hendricks, 12 News.
Wow, and they made it through all that. Well, Shelby's doing much better, as you can see. She's in physical therapy, and it's going to be a little while until she's 100%, but she does encourage everybody to get their flu shot. Still ahead on 12 News, we're keeping you in the loop of all things West Valley. A podcast from Avondale PD is improving not only the communications with the community, but also it's trending nationally. We'll tell you why it's so popular. And later in sports, Cameron here is catching up with the Cardinals legend Larry Fitzgerald. It's an interview you'll see only here on 12 News, what Larry's up to. And if you don't already have it, get 12 Plus on your TV. Download it from Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV devices. We'll be right back. Keeping you in the loop of everything happening in the West Valley. The Avondale Police Department has found a unique way to communicate with the public. Their Copy 1010 podcast is an up-close and personal look at their officers. 12 News journalist Jade Cunningham went to a taping and explains why this is not an ordinary podcast.
The name of this podcast, Copy 1010, comes from the police code 1010, which means a coffee break. And that's exactly what this podcast is. It's these officers taking a break so they can get to learn more about each other and what makes this department so special.
And we're live.
With headphones on and microphones turned up.
Oh, share the story. We have to hear it.
Co-host Daniel Benavides, Sergeant Jenny Chavez, and Jarrett Redfern put the Avondale Police Department in the spotlight.
Did you do any sports in high school or college?
Park rangers are on the list, detention officers, nobody's safe. So if you work in the police department, no matter what your position is, we're going to try and get you on the show.
I played 2 years of semi-pro football after that.
No way.
Semi-pro.
Whoa, XFL.
It's called Copy 1010, a podcast that for the past year
We started with recording on a cell phone.
invited colleagues within the agency to stop by
You know what I did in community college?
for an hour, talk about life.
Speech and debate team. I think this is important because it's so rare that we get to talk, that we get to share our personal stories. When we go on crime scenes or when we do investigations, it's about listening.
What was your favorite place to eat when you were over there?
Oh, Venezia.
Each episode is unique
You could say our guest has had a successful career in policing, right?
and is ultimately meant to connect the community with those protecting them.
Cops have this stigma of being serious and unapproachable, right? Well, we break all of that. We often joke, we talk about snacks that we like to sneak into the pantry in the middle of the night, talk about shows that we watch that are just ridiculous, but we also get the heart of the person. And it's a great way to show the interest to go to detectives, right?
With more than 60,000 downloads statewide, people are also listening across the country. This trio making the Avondale Police Department name known.
I want them to also learn about the employees and who they are and really understand them on a human level. Like they're not just police officers in a uniform, or they're not just dispatchers. They actually, are humans that have complex, rich lives.
It's also turned, though, into something unexpected.
I think there's a misunderstanding that citizens have about police departments, that all the police officers who work together, they all know each other. That's just not the case. We very rarely get to see everyone. So when we have a show like this where we interview guests, we get to learn personal stories. We get to know each other better, which builds our camaraderie and trust and makes us a better police department for the citizens.
Crazy idea is that since I was guest number 1,
Now recording for season 2.
I come back and I'm guest number 1 for season 2.
These officers still have a lot to talk about.
I want to hear your wife's side of this story now.
And as they listen to each other, they invite others to hear the funny, heartwarming, and sometimes embarrassing stories that have yet to be told.
Were you by yourself in the car?
I was actually driving over to Emmett's house.
Wow.
Believe it or not.
Stories that make this department stand out in its own unique way.
The people here truly, truly care. They're really passionate about what they do. And I hope that shines through.
They say if you want to take a 1010 and listen to this podcast, it's easy and free. You can listen to it on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. In Avondale, Jade Cunningham, 12 News.
The big weather talk. These climbing temperatures over the next several days, and as early as Monday, already flirting with that 80-degree mark. And we all know these numbers are only going up from here. How high? You'll find out. Coming up in my forecast.
In the dead of night, seems quiet.
It was a beautiful weekend. Hope you got to get out and enjoy it. Meteorologist Lauren Rainson joins us now and says, yeah, things are warming up a bit from here. Lauren.
This week, you're going to hear a lot about the rising temperatures, but we're also going to focus Tuesday and Thursday afternoon, mainly across our higher desert communities, the high country, rim country, Navajo Nation into the White Mountains. As far as the snow goes, I'm talking snowflakes. Those highest elevations above 7,500 feet. That's where some slick spots could develop on the roads, especially later in the day Thursday. It's not going to amount to much, and you know what? It won't even compare to our most recent system that moved through, and that wasn't even a whole lot to write home about either. As far as the rest of tonight goes, a mostly cloudy sky, but everyone is dry and calm. Same goes out the door Monday morning. I know a lot of people might have the day off, but if you do have to go anywhere, no rain, no mountain snow, and watch tomorrow afternoon as clouds decrease from west to east across the state, giving way to more late day sunshine. A mostly clear sky will develop by Monday evening. The setup for this upcoming week. Tuesday and Thursday, I was mentioning, watch as these pieces of energy skirt us to our north, so the Navajo Nation into the White Mountains and portions of the rim country. This is Tuesday afternoon with light rain showers, a good bet, and some snowflakes in those highest elevations. I am not expecting anything, if at all, to accumulate out of that. In the meantime, elsewhere, temperatures, they just continue to climb. We'll stop the Futurecast Thursday afternoon. Same spots, the Navajo Nation, rim country, high country. It'll be pretty sparse, nothing that widespread. A lot of us dry, even in those higher elevations. It's just one of those things to not be surprised if you do catch an isolated shower. Friday and into next weekend, temperatures, they continue to soar. As far as our precipitation forecast, you can see what I'm talking about as far as not being much at all. And in fact, I really think this forecast model is kind of underdoing it. We're going to extend this further south to include the White Mountains, rim country, Flagstaff, Williams, Kaibab Plateau, Grand Canyon country. Some light showers forecast Tuesday and Thursday. If you have a Monday tea time booked, fabulous. More clouds, yes, but that sun, it's not going to be beating down on you, so that'll be nice. Lower 70s into the early afternoon, and then 76 degrees by 4 p.m. on Monday. In the high country, the northern tier of the state, 50s Monday and Tuesday, and we're going to hang on to the middle 50s by the middle of the week. Pace in rim country. Lower 60s across the map for the next few days, and southern to western Arizona each day, flirting with that 80-degree mark. And yes, plenty more where that came from. Several days this upcoming week with valley highs nearing 80, and come next weekend, we are well into the 80s.
Whoa. 86, that's getting close to 90. All right, coming up next in sports, one-on-one with arguably the most popular player ever to play on an Arizona sports team, Larry Legend. What he has to say about the rookie, Marvin Harrison Jr., Cameron Cox has an interview you'll only see here on 12 News when we come back.
Miss the latest from 12 News?
What's up, Arizona? Welcome back to 12 News at 9:30. I'm Cameron Cox. Hey, we got a big-time show coming your way on 12 Sports tonight at 10:30, including our interview that you'll only see right here on 12 Sports and 12 Plus. We are one-on-one with Cardinals legend Larry Fitzgerald. He relives some old Cardinal memories, plus sets the record straight on Marvin Harrison Jr.'s rookie year. All right, as a fellow receiver, how would you look at Marvin's year? I feel like there were some unfair expectations on him a little bit, and people thought he should have all these numbers. But when you look at the numbers, I mean, it was a good year for a rookie receiver. How'd you look at it?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a really good year, and I look back to my rookie year and like how much better and dominant of a player he was than I was as a rookie. You know, I didn't have nearly the pressure or the stress, you know, that he had. You know, I came in and was uncertain who was going to play quarterback. You know, he's got an all-pro quarterback in K1, right? I had the luxury of having, from the year past, Anquan was the rookie of the year. He had 1,400 yards, over 100 catches, 8 touchdowns.
That took a lot of pressure.
I took a ton of pressure. Like, he didn't have that luxury of coming in here with a solidified, bona fide number one, and you kind of just slide in. And he was thrown right in as the number one option from day one. He walked in the building.
Other teams treated him like that. They bracketed him all day.
All day. And, so I didn't experience that. So, I think he did an unbelievable job. Obviously, there's things that he will want to improve on, but I think he put a really, really good rookie campaign out there.
You mentioned K1. What did you see from him that goes to show you that he can be this franchise quarterback moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, he balled. I mean, I think he was a lot more consistent this year. I know he's got a lot of good football ahead of him, and, I hear a lot of good things, about him in the locker room and, the steps he's taken as a leader, and I'm excited about the future. Monty's done a great job of constructing that roster. Obviously, the defensive front was decimated early in the year, and the way that defense performed all year consistently, and I don't care what the score of the games were, like, they were always fighting their off every single week. Every single week, just so much fire in them. You got to love a team that plays with that kind of passion. Man, Fitz could still go. All right, D-bac's about to be full squad ready after a few days of just pitchers and catchers. The position players officially report to spring training tomorrow. Many already at Salt River Fields, including the entire starting infield. Ketel Marte, Eugenio Suarez taking grounders. Guys say reporting before you have to shows a commitment and focus that sets the tone for the season.
Sets a tone for the direction that we're trying to go. When you have two of your best players, Corbin Carroll and Zach Gallen, here on Christmas Eve morning working out, it really tells you a story about the hunger of this team, and the rest follow.
Them showing up early is a testament to their character and how much they want to be here, and it almost seems like we already had our first day of camp because so many people are here, and it's just good to see. Sports
the only work where it's good to show up early like that?
Well, it's good to show up here if you can.
Early?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Days early. They clock it in way early.
It's so weird that here we are, spring training, right?
Baseball.
The first games, is it Friday? Friday, first games.
Yeah.
All right, so speaking of spring training, a Valley woman says her love for the Cubs and spring training here in Arizona is the reason she's alive. She needed a kidney. She met a fan at Sloan Park, and she got her kidney. 12 News journalist Kyle Simchuk has this story.
For baseball fans, spring training represents hope and new beginnings. But for Denise Vasquez, that statement is quite literal.
If it wasn't for us being Cubs fans, I probably would have never met her.
Denise, a Navy veteran, was diagnosed with kidney disease in 2008. Her love for the Chicago Cubs brought her to Sloan Park in Mesa a few years ago, where she met Kathy Weedley, a retired PE teacher.
She's really friendly, really nice, super sweet, just really talkative. Some people, are kind of not. And obviously, if we talk about baseball, we talk about the Cubs. You have plenty to say.
They met each spring. Their friendship grew, but Denise knew her life was nearing its final inning. She needed a kidney transplant, but she'd have to wait in line.
Nationwide, there is a little over 100,000 people on kidney transplant wait lists. Kidney transplants for a deceased donor roughly wait about 5 to 7 years here in the state of Arizona.
Denise didn't have years. She eventually told Kathy about her situation, and without flinching,
I told her, I bet I'll be your match. And she goes, well, do you mind applying? I said, absolutely, I'll do it.
Kathy was a perfect match and passed all the testing required to donate. But she didn't tell Denise at first. It would be a surprise. The hospital played along.
She had an anonymous donor.
The big reveal happened at the same ballpark they first met at.
She undid her shirt, and Cubs kidney donor. And I was like, oh, okay, because I was just reading the shirt, like, that's cool. She's like, no, she goes, I'm your donor. And I was obviously overwhelmed, hugged her, cried. Like I said, all my friends were there, and it was cool.
The successful transplant took place in January at Dignity Health St. Joseph's Hospital in Phoenix.
It was a big, healthy one. It was about that big, and it looked like a baked potato.
Two friends who share a love of baseball.
And now it's obviously a different friendship, so, because I got part of her.
Now share a kidney.
It's amazing. I mean, she saved my life, literally. I wouldn't be here, honestly, if it wasn't for the kidney.
In Phoenix, Kyle Simchuk, 12 News.
Oh, and the smiles. How about that? Today, hundreds of runners took to the streets in just their skivvies. It's Cupid's Undie Run in Scottsdale. The event raises awareness for neurofibromatosis, which is more commonly known as NF. It's a genetic disorder that causes tumors to grow on nerves. So Cupid's Undie Run helps with fundraising for NF research through the Children's Tumor Foundation. Also happening today, the 35th Annual World Championship Hoop Dance Contest. It's at the Herb Museum in downtown Phoenix. The event's a cornerstone for cultural preservation among these indigenous communities, spotlighting the best in traditional hoop dancing. Last year, the event drew some 7,500 attendees over the 2 days that the competition was held. Don't go anywhere. We have more news for you coming up. 12 News at 10 starts right now. It's Sunday,